Hi, welcome to PS Crafty Life. I'm Erin,
I'm Andy.
and we're here to talk about Autism Awareness Month.
Yes, because my son is diagnosed autistic. My daughter is not diagnosed autistic, but that's because she's a girl. And if you know anything about autism, you know that as a female, it is much harder to get diagnosed because females are much better at mimicking what they see. And so my daughter was diagnosed instead with anxiety, which is very common, even though she has pretty much every single thing. And I myself have learned that I am most likely on the spectrum. But when I was a kid, it wasn't like a thing. You were just the weird kid.
Right.
So, and ignore this. I dislocated my pinky finger because Ehlers-Danlos. So, yay.
Yes.
So
She gets hurt folding laundry. I get hurt working in my garden. We're a good pair.
Yeah, I literally dislocated my pinky finger folding laundry.
But let's talk about Beckham and the differences between how he interacts compared to some other kids.
Yeah, so I know that you've learned some stuff since we've become friends about autism, just having to deal with my children.
I wouldn't say having to deal with your children, but I do when I pick them up from school. Like, I know I'm not going to force Beckham to look me in the face and tell me how his day went. I will get down so that I can understand him while he looks a little bit away. And that's fine. I don't want to punish him by saying, look at me, look at me.
And that's one thing that drives me bonkers because I don't particularly enjoy looking people in the face. But when I was a kid, that was something you had to do.
Yes.
Look me in the eye when you're talking to me. And I understand that a lot of people see that as a sign of respect and that you're listening. But to me, it makes me very uncomfortable to look at somebody's face that long. Like, stop. Don't look at me. Stop. And so I didn't even notice that my children weren't doing it until somebody else said something to me about it. And then we took my son to get diagnosed or whatever. Evaluated, yes. And the doctor was like, he doesn't look at people. And I was like, oh, he doesn't? Didn't notice because I don't like doing it either. She's like, well, you do it. I'm like, that's because I had to.
I was trained.
Like, I'm not actually, I can look at you, but I don't like it. And I tend to stare off and like look over there or look here or there, or,
Find a spot that's a little less uncomfortable.
Yeah, because looking straight at somebody's eyeballs makes me want to go cross-eyed. I don't like it. It's uncomfortable. And I asked my family, I was like, does it not make you all uncomfortable? They're like, no. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was a big thing in my family with my dad. It was like, if we didn't look directly at him, we were flat out lying.
Yeah.
And that was not going to fly.
Yeah, but there are other tells when I know when my kids aren't telling me the truth. And it has nothing to do with if they're looking me in the eyeballs or not. Absolutely nothing. They have other tells. But I understand that that's something that most people look into. But to me, I never even noticed that my kids weren't looking at people because I don't like to do it. And so I was like, oh, they aren't? Oh. And when my daughter was 2, people were telling me, you should get her evaluated. Have you looked into autism? And I was like, she's just like I was. She's just advanced. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with my child. She is fine. You know,
but she is fine.
But
she just sees the world differently.
But as a new mom, I hadn't had my son yet. As a mother, and I had many people telling me, you should get her evaluated. And I'm like, she's just smart. Why are you all telling me there's something wrong with her? Because she's smart. She's just like I was when I was a kid. She's fine. So they were like, by saying there was something wrong with my daughter, it was like there was something wrong with me. And
I understand that.
And I was like, she's fine. Stop it. There's nothing wrong with us. We're fine. Leave us alone. We're just not like you. We're fine. And that's the truth. We're not like you. We are fine. However, that does cause some issues sometimes.
Because you're living in a world where I don't want to say the majority of people react in one way, but a lot of society has certain expectations, and they stick those expectations on everybody as a flat expectation. Everybody should behave this way.
Yes. And I never could, it's taken me a long time to be able to keep friends. I have very few friends that I've kept for long term. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not good at keeping people. And it's because I'm very blunt.
And I've learned to accept that. And I don't ask an opinion unless I want to hear it.
And I have learned about myself to warn people. Do you really want to know? Because if you don't want to know, don't ask me, because I'm going to tell you. So if you don't want to know, don't ask me. Don't complain to me. Don't fuss. Don't ask, because I'm going to tell you. I don't have that filter. And I know that about myself through many 30 years of dealing with people being very upset with me and me losing friendships over straight up telling people the truth that they didn't want to hear. And I'm not just talking about my opinion. I'm talking about, facts that they didn't necessarily want to know. And it makes them angry. And I know that I come across as very blunt, and that's just how I am. And my kids are that way too. And my son has been called savage a few times. I think it's funny. And my family thinks,
which is probably why he won't go to many of Eden's performances.
Oh, my daughter recently had a talent show, and my son is very supportive of his sister, and it's very sweet. And he was very proud of his sister, and she did very well. But there was another person who was at the talent show, and he was like, I didn't like it, but it was good. But I didn't like it. And he said it very loud. And so I had to be like, shh, you can't do that. Because these are little kids. And he was like, it was okay, but no. And I was like, shh, just clap, just shh.
Yeah, the polite thing to do is.
Yeah, so we teach. My purpose now with my autistic children is to teach them how to behave politely in society, so that we
doesn't understand their
that doesn't appreciate their honesty,
doesn't understand their need to be explicitly honest.
Yes. So I just try to teach them to be polite and the polite behavior in society, and curb their need to spew every thought from their brain. Because I understand their need to spew every thought from their brain. However, it's not something that
sometimes you got to shut off at a certain point.
Needed. Yes.
So
taking my son to things like talent shows and things like that isn't always something that can be done. Not only things like shows and plays and ballet, they tend to be loud
and long,
which is very difficult for my son, because one of his main tics is being loud. It used to be humming.
Mm-hmm.
He would hum incessantly. Yes, just hum. And then he learned to whistle.
Oh, he's learned to whistle? Oh, I better make sure there's a book in my car every morning.
He's learned to whistle. He doesn't do it as much in the mornings. But
okay, well, in the afternoon.
Yes, he's learned to whistle. Good luck. He does it while he reads too. He's learned to whistle. And it's one of those things that drives me nuts. So yeah. I have to learn to deal with his tics while dealing with my own issues, which is a lot of fun. Because his dad whistles sometimes along with songs, and I'll have to be like, stop it.
Oh,
because it drives me nuts.
Once Alex learned to whistle, it was like, shut up.
But Beckham, he doesn't even whistle along to music. He just whistles incessantly. So instead of humming now, he whistles. And so it's like I have a bird in my house all the time. and it's loud, and it's not like screech whistling. It's just incessant whistling. And it used to be humming, and humming I can deal with better than the whistling.
But the humming wasn't as loud.
Yeah.
It could be drowned out with something simple like water running.
Yeah. But she knows because she spent a lot of time. It's just one of those things that he does, and he doesn't even know he's doing it.
Yeah.
It's just his tick. It's just what he does. Something with his mouth. He would hum. Now he whistles. Oh, it drives me crazy. So that's one of the things that I have to deal with now is the whistling.
Very sorry.
The whistling. And we had one of his other friends from his class over at our house the other day, and she was like, "Oh yeah, he does that in class too." And I'm like, "Oh no." It's like he's whistling in class. Yeah, I can't believe his teacher hasn't messaged me like, "Can you make him stop whistling?" I love his teacher. His teachers have been amazing with him. I don't know what we would do without this school because they've been amazing.
School, and I think there's a few kids in his class
with autism. Yeah, there's at least like 3 or 4. And she said that another kid in the class hums all the time too, like Beckham used to.
I think that she probably has.
She understands it, which is amazing.
And she probably has a method for, okay, when it's enough, it's enough.
Yeah, and she loves my kids, which is great. But the whistling, and apparently he's doing it at school, but he doesn't even realize he does it.
Right.
I'll be like, "Beckham, stop," and he'll be like, "Stop what?" The whistling. Oh, was I whistling? He doesn't even know he's doing it because it's unconscious. So, and then he loves to tear things. My husband's office chair had a little rip in the.
Oh no.
Yeah.
He didn't.
In like the pleather, there's none left.
Oh.
Because he would sit there and play, and just absentmindedly rip all of the cover off of the chair. So, yeah, if there's a rip in something, he has to tear it the rest of the way. He just has. It's one of those things.
Well, and I've also noticed my observations in having him come for play dates. We have to set up before we even walk in the door. These are the rules.
Oh, he likes rules.
You have, if you come over, you have to be prepared to help clean up. If you don't warn him that he has to help clean up, you're looking for a breakdown when you say it's time to clean up. Because he wasn't warned.
Right.
So we always say, okay, you can come over, but anything you pull out, you have to put away.
And if you say it like that, if he didn't touch it,
he won't put it away.
He won't put it away.
So I have to make sure I say you have to help pick up.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that was not out needs to get put back where it belongs before you leave.
Because he'll be like, "But I didn't touch that."
Yes. And I also know that if there's 3 of them, sometimes he needs to just take the Nintendo and go in a corner.
Especially if they're not doing what he wants. And that's just a kid thing, you know, like they're not playing what I want, but like sometimes it can
go to the
challenging.
Extreme with Beckham sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and with my daughter as well, sometimes one of her main things that we have struggled with so hard is extreme meltdowns. And I'm not talking about like whining. I'm talking about she dented her bedroom door with her fist and didn't feel any pain kind of meltdowns, to the point where she can't speak. She doesn't know what's happening. Her level is a 10. I mean, there's no calming her down.
I unfortunately was the cause of one of those meltdowns. But in my defense, she had done something that was not quite safe. And so I reprimanded her for it.
Right. Well, she wasn't thinking and ran out in the street. Like it was something that
needed to be reprimanded.
And all she did was say, "I'm going to have to tell your mom." And then that caused a complete meltdown. So
for like 2 hours.
Yeah. But it's been worse than that even. I mean, small things like my daughter has an extreme fear of fireworks. She feels like no matter how far away they are, they're going, especially the ones that go up in the sky, she feels like they're going to come down, land on her, and kill her. She has this extreme fear of fireworks. So she wants to see them, but at the same time, she's terrified. So one New Year's, our neighbors were doing fireworks and she got terrified. So she went to our friend's house, our other neighbor's house to play with their little girl. And then she came out and got mad that the fireworks were over. And I'm like, but you were terrified. But she was mad, and it caused a complete and utter meltdown. And no matter what we said, it was like she couldn't hear us and she couldn't speak anymore. And it was just meltdown, just screaming, kicking, punching, everything not normal kid meltdowns.
Right.
And it was to the point where we had to basically swaddle her like a child, like a baby, in order to keep her from hurting herself or someone else, because she doesn't feel pain when she gets like that. So she can literally, and she has Ehlers-Danlos as well. So she could hurt herself badly and not realize it until she calms down.
Right.
It's terrifying when she gets that way. And it's getting less and less common, which I'm so thankful about, because it was for a while there a lot. But
it seems like the screaming is still there, but the violent
is getting less. And the screaming is less as well. She's getting whiny again. I don't know what has happened recently, but the whininess is coming back.
Oh, yeah, whiny.
But they go through. Kids are fun. But she would, I mean, she has kicked me, punched, hit. She headbutted her dad. I mean, like, she gets violent. And she's not big. Like,
no, but she's strong.
But she is strong. She's like She-Hulk. She's stronger than she looks. And so it's terrifying. And you just kind of have to like hold her. And I learned that cooling her down, like literally with an ice cube, cooling her down can sometimes literally cool her down. Yeah. So, but it takes a lot to calm her down from one of those. And, right. Oh man. And that's not a normal child meltdown. Right. Like in a store, you see kids melt down. That's, whatever. But my kid melting down over, we don't even know sometimes why she melts down, because she won't verbalize it. She'll just whine and sit in the floor, and we have to pick her up because she won't move and she won't talk, and we don't know what's wrong. She's 9. That's not,
not the average 9-year-old behavior.
Not the average 9-year-old. Now at school, she's normally perfectly fine. Yeah. Because she's at school.
I've noticed more in Beckham than Lorelai, but he can get fixated.
Oh, yes.
Like he'll come over and he'll have it in his head, Erin has cookies, and Erin doesn't have cookies that he can eat today. And for like 2 hours, he'll be like, but don't you have cookies? But don't you have cookies?
Yes.
Don't you have cookies?
Beckham especially has the fixations. Yes. Constantly. He had an issue last year with, he wanted to sit at a specific table in art class, and that table got full before he got into the room, and he had a complete and utter meltdown in school because he couldn't sit at the yellow table. And like, he gets very fixated on certain things. This year, he has his own set of markers, because if he loses his markers, he can't focus. So his orange marker somehow disappeared, and he could not go on with his day until he found his orange marker. He did find his marker, but like, he gets very fixated on things.
Yes.
Lorelai does sometimes, but not as common.
not as much as Beckham.
Not as common, but I do that too. Like my books. If my bookshelf is messed up, I have to fix it.
That's a little OCD. Yeah, my bookshelf drives her nuts.
It does. If you've seen me glance over her bookshelf.
She wants to reorganize my bookshelf.
But I have things I've had to learn to let go of, because once you have children, your house does not stay like you want it to, because other people mess it up.
Can you tell that to my husband?
Your husband has issues of his own that I cannot.
No, my husband's a good guy. He just likes.
He just likes.
He wants to. Our boys are older, so he had it in his head that once the boys grew up, the house would be neat. Well, then came little Princess Eden. Little Princess Eden doesn't believe in making things neat.
She believes in tiaras and dresses and changing her clothes 7 times a day.
And when she changes her clothes, the ones she took off land wherever she was standing.
So there are tutus and tiaras
all over
wherever they land. But
and after the 15th time of cleaning it up, I say, forget it. And then my husband comes
do it
home, he's
later.
like,
There's stuff.
there's stuff everywhere.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, well, I cleaned it up 15 times. That's the 16th. It's going to wait till tomorrow.
Yeah. But like I get fixated on ideas too. Like,
Yes.
oh, well, if I have this idea, it needs to be done now because it needs to be done now. And I can't do anything else until this is done. And so
she gets frustrated with me when she calls and she wants to do something now. And I'm like, but I'm busy. I can't do it now.
like, dang it.
I just can't do it.
I have learned to accept things as I've gotten older. Has it taken me a long time? Yes. And my poor husband has known me since I was 15. And he has had to deal with me since I was 15 and dealing with all of my annoyances. Mm-hmm. Poor guy.
Yeah, my poor husband had to learn to deal with a slob for a wife.
Yeah. They love us anyway.
I may be a stay-at-home mom, but cleaning is not my job.
I'm not good at cleaning either. Of course, my Ehlers-Danlos doesn't make it easy.
You hurt
I used
yourself
to
when
be
you
okay.
clean.
I folded laundry.
So somebody give us the winning lottery ticket so that she can have a maid.
Yeah, I really need one. Just
Please.
to, at least to fold my laundry. But anyway,
Back to autism.
But people don't understand that. I heard some parents talking at school pickup the other day about some thing that they were putting their kid in, like an after school program or something. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that she was so glad they were teaching her kids about was about looking people in the eye and stuff like that. And all I could think was, why is that still such a big deal that someone looks you in the eyeballs? I don't understand.
Like I said, I've come to the realization Beckham's not going to look me in the face. I bend down, and the only thing I will say to him is when it's cold and he's got a scarf on, I'll say, Beckham, I can't hear you with your scarf. Can you lower your scarf? But I don't make him look me in the face because that would be bad.
Well, and he's not gonna. He'll cry.
Yeah, it'll be bad. It'll make for a bad ride home.
Well, and especially in certain, like if he's in your house, he's more apt to look you in close to your face.
Right.
But outside with all of the noise that is in right at pickup, there are a lot of kids out there, a lot of parents. There tend to be dogs.
Some of his favorite teachers.
And there's a lot going on, and he can't focus on talking to you if he's looking at you too. It's not something that's possible. It's too much stimulation going on. You can't do all that at once, and it's just too much. And I hate crowds, and so in things like that, I understand his need to be like, okay, so I can talk to you if I look like this. I can talk to you because then I don't have to worry about everything else that's going on, and I can focus on the words that are coming out of my mouth.
And that's exactly what he does. He'll come out, he'll give me a hug, he'll say, Erin, and then he'll put his head down like this, and he'll say, how are you? I didn't know you were coming today. And then we'll talk about how school was while we wait for his sister and Eden to come out.
Because he's always the first one out. Because the girls have to. Yeah. Well, Lorelai's older, so she doesn't get out till later.
But Eden is always the last first grader out the door. Yeah.
But Beckham is always like the first one out there. So, yes. But he likes to pet the dogs as long as they're nice. But he doesn't look, there's too much going on. He can't take it. And also have a conversation. It's not gonna happen. But
he and I we've got it down. Got it down.
But a lot of people are like, you have to look at me. And I'm like, no, he doesn't.
Yeah. I've had a few people look at me funny when I just like put my head next to his so I can hear him a little better. It's like, he doesn't want to look at me. It's fine. He's good. He's being respectful.
People are like, oh, he doesn't look autistic.
Please tell me, what does autism look like?
Right. I'm sorry. What is he supposed to wear a helmet? Like, what do you mean he doesn't look autistic?
First of all, there's different degrees.
Like
there's different.
Somebody found a whistle. What do you mean he doesn't look autistic? Do you know how many people don't look like there's something wrong with them?
I got a question. Do I look like I have celiac disease?
Right.
Does she look like she? Do we have a label?
Like, do I need a billboard that says,
Do we need to wear hats that say celiac disease, Ehlers-Danlos, autism?
right? I used to be terrible, but I have a handicap sticker that I use sometimes in my car when my hip is dislocated or something. And I always worry that people are going to be like, you don't look sick. And I'm like, but that's one of those things that you get sometimes. You don't look, he doesn't look. And we had the IEP thing because you have to do that before you can get a 504 plan. And if you don't know what that is, it's a school thing so that you can make sure that your kid gets help in school. So IEP is like one level up from a 504. And that just means that your kid needs certain help from the state and stuff. But my kid is very smart. So Beckham is advanced, and so is Lorelai in their work at school. And the IEP woman, and when he was in kindergarten, just kept going, his test scores are fine. And me and his teachers and the special needs teacher who worked with his class are all sitting there going, of course his test scores are fine.
Nobody said he has a learning disability.
But she's like, his grades are fine. And I'm like, okay. And his teacher's going, we don't grade classwork, because he was having issues with his classwork and focusing and being able to get that stuff done that year. He's doing much better this year. And we're like, that's not the issue here. And
That's
she just
not
kept
where
going,
we need help.
she just kept going, well, he doesn't need an IEP. His test scores are fine. He's fine. He's fine. He's fine. Me and the teachers and everybody are sitting there going, wow. And it's just amazing that this woman who's never met my son comes in, looks at this paper and goes, he's fine. Meanwhile, the teachers who are with him every day, the special needs teacher who said, I walked into the class the first day and knew that he needed help. And the first day in class, they gave him sound dampening headphones. And she was like, especially the hand dryers in the bathroom. And they're like, well, everybody hates those. They're loud. And I'm like, okay, but not every kid needs sound dampening headphones to deal with them.
Right.
There's a difference. And this woman was just like, he's fine. Now, he does have a 504 plan because the school's amazing. And they give him everything he needs. He can't be like
but
sitting this close to
he
someone
should
in school.
have an IEP. He should.
Maybe, but
I'm not saying because he needs help. I'm saying to protect him as he moves higher up.
The 504 does protect him for
but
so
only
long.
to a big degree.
Right. But it does protect what he needs in the classroom.
Right.
So as long as he gets what he needs in the classroom from the 504, we'll be fine. If at some point some teacher says, I don't care, then I'll have to go fight. But so far, this school's amazing. We go by the 504.
But
I don't
by
have
middle
to worry
school,
about it.
you're going to need to fight.
We'll see what happens.
Middle schools are just so hectic. You're going to
Well,
need
I'm
to
just
fight.
praying that we have good teachers. Right now, this elementary school that he's in is amazing. The teachers have been amazing. They give him
The
what
principal's
he needs.
great.
The whole school's amazing. So, but he has like,
the principal knows every kid by name on site.
And can like connect them to their parents.
Yes.
It's like some kind of superpower.
Yes. Like he sees me walking and he's like, you guys carpooling today? Yep. We're carpooling today.
Yeah. Because he knows that we pick up each other's kids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's like, he's got a superpower.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Superman.
But yeah. But people are just like, oh, well, your kid's smart, so they're fine, right? No. Okay, yeah, they're smart.
And yeah, they're fine, but they need some assistance in the social aspect and the behavior aspect of school.
Right. And my son has gotten much better, and my daughter has gotten much better. However,
and they're good kids.
They are very
They're
good
very
kids.
good
I love
kids.
my kids. However, they have some problems sometimes. My daughter's already had issues with keeping friends like I did in school because she has her own little quirks, and my son doesn't always understand social cues and the fact that someone may actually be being kind of mean to him.
Right.
When he's like, oh, well, this person's my friend, but they don't always play with me. Sometimes they say that I can't play with them. He doesn't understand that they're actually not really being very nice.
Yeah.
And
unfortunately that starts younger and younger, it seems.
But he does have some really good friends, which I'm so thankful for. And he doesn't always get that he can't be in, that both of my kids don't understand that they can't be in control of every situation. And it's not just like a normal kid, like I want to be the boss. It's like
that would be my daughter.
Yeah. It's not like, oh, well, I want to control this game. No, they want to be like in every aspect of control of every little bit of everything because they need that. I don't know. It's like a problem. And I understand it because I used to be that way. I'm not as bad anymore.
Really?
I'm not. I let you do things.
I have to take them to the house to do them.
I give them to you.
So that you don't have to watch me do it.
I'm like, here, go away. Like, here, do this.
Yeah. We love to do the same type of stuff, but it's better for me to do it here and her to do it there. And then join up and say, oh, that looks good.
I'm like, here, yeah, take it. But yeah, they'll make up games, but they love rules. I mean, especially my son loves rules.
Yes.
And if you don't follow the rules, it's going to be bad. You can't change the rules. You have to follow the rules. Hello? The rules are there for a reason.
And he loves to throw a wrench in the plans.
And my poor husband, I like to have a plan. I like plans. I like to do things. I like the and then sometimes he's just like, let's just go here. And I'm like, no. And he's like, we're going on an adventure. And he'll just like turn the car somewhere. And he's like, we're going on an adventure. I'm like, but where are we? I don't like this. Or he'll go a different way in the grocery store.
Oh, that's going to drive you nuts.
And go down the wrong aisle. And I'm like, stop it. Stop it right now. So, yeah, we're a lot of fun. Our friends and family. But the other thing, the good things are that we are very honest. Like, we don't lie.
No.
So you don't have to worry. If we are mad at you, you're going to know. Like, we're going to tell you.
You also tend to think that people are mad at you when they're not.
That's an anxiety issue.
Yeah.
Because I do have anxiety. That I always worry that people are mad at me because I have high anxiety issues. I was like, are you mad at me?
I am not a morning person. And I snapped at her one morning. She thought I was mad at her. I'm like, no, it's morning. Don't talk to me in the morning.
I always worry that people are mad at me. But that's an anxiety issue, and also because social cues are hard sometimes. I'm pretty good at facial expressions and reading facial expressions, but sometimes because of anxiety and growing up the way I did, I was bullied and things like that. So I always worry. It's just a problem. Yeah. And if I get in a fight with someone I care about, like a friend or whatever, I'm like, oh crap. And I will worry about it for days and days. And even after it's over, I will worry. And it will bother me even after it's done. I'll be like, for days. So yeah. But, and my daughter's like that too, unfortunately. It's like she has high anxiety and she worries. And yesterday she broke a cup on accident. And it was a Dollar Tree glass, not anything I was worried about. But she came up and she knocked on my door and she was like, and I was like, Lorelai, are you hurt? No. Okay, it's fine. It's from the Dollar Tree. It's not that big of a deal. She's like, I was like, it's okay. Thank you for telling me. Are you hurt? No, I'm fine. I knocked it off. It's like, it's fine. She's like, okay.
Well, that might be a normal thing because when Alex broke my Princess House wine glass washing it by accident one day, he looked like he was going to cry because he thought I was going to be mad. Because I waited till my boys were like 12 years old to bring my good dishes out.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he broke one of them, trying to be helpful. He about had a heart attack.
But Lorelai, any little thing, she also has perfectionist things. So like she gets something wrong on a test and she gets very upset. She gets, things like that. And she gets very, very upset about little bitty things that are not that big of a deal.
And she fixates on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My poor children. They got all of my bad traits.
It's okay. Whenever I see her fixating on something in the car on the way home, I'm always trying to find a way to distract her.
Those are the sorts of things that Beckham fixates on, like the physical. She fixates on like getting
what
things
color
wrong
she is on the chart. And
did she get a question wrong at school?
Yeah.
And did so-and-so,
And she'll talk about it the whole way home.
And she can't stop.
And she can't.
And if you don't.
And she'll repeat it.
Yeah.
Like 5 times.
And they'll repeat things over and over. Yes. And I'm like, I heard you. I heard you. I heard you. I know. But they just repeat and repeat and repeat. So there's a lot of things that go on with autism. And people, I don't know why you can't fit autism into a box because the spectrum is so very vast that it goes from one end to another. And if you know one kid with autism, you know one kid with autism because we have 3 people probably in our house on the spectrum and we're all different.
Just like everybody else is different.
Yeah. And I have friends on spectrum and I have friends with kids on spectrum and none of us are even close to the same. I have learned that I tend to get along with people on spectrum better than I do normal people, though.
Probably because there's a little bit more understanding in certain aspects of it.
Yeah, they don't expect me to be like other people expect me to be. They don't expect
you to stare at people in the face, and they don't expect you to.
Yeah.
And
they don't care that I'm blunt.
When you get fixated on something.
Yeah, and they don't care that I'm blunt.
Because they're just as blunt.
Yeah. And I don't care if they get fixated on things or whatever. So we tend to get along quite well. And my kids tend to get along.
I will say this. Alex was home. He said to me, Mom, I swear, 90% of the kids in my dorm are probably on the spectrum.
Well, he goes to a very
highly intelligent, highly focused school.
I did. When Beckham was being evaluated, they told me there's a very thin line between like genius and what was Asperger's. Like the line is very, very, very thin of what the differences are. And it all has to do with like social cues and things like that.
Right.
So that's all it is, basically.
Being able to read people helps make you a genius, whereas you're still just as intelligent if you can't read people.
Yeah. But honestly, I grew up being treated like a normal kid. Even though my parents knew I was weird, but they just embraced it. They let me be weird. And that's fine. Because I didn't have learning disabilities and I didn't have, special needs. But it was hard because I didn't fit in with everyone else. And I did get bullied. And I didn't have friends that understood and stuff like that. But eventually I was okay. So as far as my kids, they know, Beckham knows he has autism and he's tried to use it a time or two. Don't you know? He did one day. He was in trouble. Don't you know I have autism? And I said, I don't care if you're purple. You're still in trouble. Like, it doesn't fly in our house as an excuse.
It means you have to work harder.
Yes, it just means that that's who you are. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It just means that's who you are. And it means that sometimes you have to work harder to make people understand you.
Mm-hmm.
Or to calm down.
Right.
And you need to use your words more.
Right.
Which I will say, my son especially has become very good at using his words. I'm very proud of that because he used to not be very good at that at all. And now even when he is upset, he will go, I need a hug to calm down. Mm-hmm. And sometimes he needs to just be wrapped up to calm down. And sometimes he goes, I need to go outside to calm down. And he'll go on the swing and it's fine. So
Yeah.
he can sometimes understand what he needs.
Right.
And that
And
is a
he'll
big
say to
deal.
me, I need to go home now.
Yes.
Okay. I'll get your mom. We'll get you home now.
Yes.
No problem.
I need to go home. So
No problem.
it's very, he's learning, and that's
Yes.
good. So I don't.
And I'm kind of proud of the way our kids spend time together.
And that's another thing that I love, because he has friends who are not on spectrum at all. Two very close friends who are not on spectrum at all. And they've had to come to understand that my kids aren't like all the
Right.
other kids.
But they still love your kids.
But they all get along. And we had to teach them very early on, okay, if we make rules, everything goes much smoother.
Yes.
And no, it's not okay if Beckham touches you, because Beckham has a hard time with anger.
Yes.
But
We only had a couple instances of that.
yes, because once we figured out rules and boundaries, and it was
Yes.
much better.
And I explained, he doesn't necessarily understand things in the same sense that you do. He understands it's wrong to do that, but he can't control his anger in that moment.
Right.
It's not that he wants to hurt you. It's just he has to let out that anger in some way. And unfortunately, you were the target.
And like Beckham's not good he doesn't like to play tag because it makes him anxious to play tag. So we don't play tag, because
Yes.
it makes Beckham very anxious. And then sometimes he gets a little too angry. Things like that. So, and I don't know why people don't just explain to their normal children, or,
I don't like that term.
Yeah, whatever.
I don't like labels.
Different terms for, I know.
I'm not a label person. I don't know why we have to label everything.
But for their children who don't have autism or whatever, or why they don't just explain, okay, so your friend has autism.
His brain works differently. Sometimes we have to talk things out in a different way.
But it makes life so much easier instead of trying to hide it and be like, oh, well, we were afraid you would get offended. I'm not going to be offended. That's who we are. But it's not like there's something wrong with it.
Well, and sticking with rules and sticking with consequences.
Yes.
Like you
must have
refuse to help
consequences.
clean up today, so no, you can't come over tomorrow.
Yes. And like my son knows if he comes home from school and he's been bad at school, then no electronics that day.
Right.
So he's usually pretty good at school because he loves electronics.
Yeah.
Mario is his jam.
Yes.
But just if everyone could just explain to their
But you'd have to explain it to the parents first.
yeah, parents need to be, and that's why we need more awareness, which is what this month is about. Understanding that not all autistic children are the same, that each autistic child has different needs, and and all you need to do is ask the parent, hey, I noticed that your kid and my kid are getting along, but I noticed that your kid sometimes has a tendency to go off on their own or something. And I was wondering if maybe they needed a special playmate or something. And the parent may be like, hey, my kid has talked about your kid, or maybe not, because it took Beckham months to tell me any kid's name in his kindergarten class.
It was funny the first time I realized you lived in the neighborhood and you guys were walking around, and Beckham came running over and gave Eden a hug, and she's like, you know her?
Yeah, he didn't tell me anyone in his class. Could not tell me their names, nothing. But like the parent may be like, oh, well, they go off on their own because they have autism, and sometimes they get in their own heads because Beckham will do that.
Or they need to
calm down, or they've gotten sensory overload. But I'm sure we would love to play with your kid. And this is how my kid plays. And then it's just like we figured out If we have rules, it's fine. They're great, you know, and kids tend to figure it out on their own sometimes. Just
as long as you don't put anything in their head that they need to, like, I don't tell Eden, just be careful of this or just be careful of that. Okay, follow the rules, listen to Andy, and be nice.
yeah, you don't need to be like, oh, well, they have autism, so you need to let them win, or you need to let them. No, don't.
Be nice, use your kind words, and follow the rules, follow directions.
Yeah. And I mean, we had to explain to Eden, okay, so Beckham has sensory issues.
So don't be loud and sing.
So we don't sing really loud in the house. You can go outside to sing.
Eden loves to sing.
or something like that. And even though he whistles and hums all the time, that's like his own
his ear the same way.
His own head. If somebody else is doing it, he can have a breakdown. And like he has been up against a wall with his hands over his ears before, just like, no. But so we can't do that. You can go into another room or you can go outside and do that, and that's fine. But Beckham, he can't take that. And easy peasy. Kids are just like, oh, okay.
It's just something you do with a different friend.
It's not something that kids see as, oh my goodness, that's
Eden
so
didn't even know until this year that he had autism.
Well, and his other friend had no idea. She was just like,
Eden said, what's autism? I said, it just means that he thinks of things differently. He experiences the world in a different way than you do.
Yeah.
She said, but doesn't that mean he's just a different person? Pretty much. Yeah. And like another friend, we had to explain it to. And because it's like, well, why did he get so mad at me over, he felt like something was a secret. And she was like, what are you talking about? And he had put his hand over her mouth, which he got in big trouble for, because we do not touch other people inappropriate. That is not appropriate. And it was on the bus, and he has not been taken off the bus because he was having sensory overload issues, which was another cause of that. But I made him go apologize, and she was like, what, is he mad at me? I don't understand. And so her family, and I was like, have you all not explained? And they're like, no. And I was like, you can tell her it's okay. Like, she needs to understand. And they were like, we just weren't sure. And I was like, it's fine. And so once they explained it, she's like, oh, okay. Kids are just like, oh, that's fine. Yeah.
They don't care. And so if you don't make it a big deal, it's not a big deal for kids. If you make it into some big, like, scary thing, it's not a disease. You're not going to catch it.
Well, and even if I did, what's the big deal? It's not like it's going to kill me. It just makes me think differently. You know what I'm saying?
You're going to catch the autism.
Oh, no.
And like, I hate some of the things. What are some stupid things we've heard about autism? Oh, we've heard so many stupid things.
Oh, everybody with autism is a genius. I've heard that one.
You're saying we're not geniuses?
I'm saying not everybody with autism is highly intelligent.
There have been theories that it is actually like an evolution, and they're all just like locked in their own brains because they're so intelligent. They're locked in there. It's an interesting theory.
I'd love
not one that's actually proven, but it's an interesting theory. My least favorite is that they're vaccinated, right?
So was my daughter. So are my sons.
You probably vaccinated your kids.
Yeah, I didn't want them to die.
I'm sorry.
There's a reason there's no more polio or measles or...
Autism does not come.
We don't die.
Autism does not come from vaccinations. And even if it did, you're not going to die from autism. You might from polio. That's one of my least favorite. And I see it all the time on any autism posts online. Any autism post online that you see,
before your kids are vaccinated.
Somebody is going to go, did you search vaccinations?
Yes, I did. I actually did. And you know what we did? We spoke with my daughter's doctor, and instead of doing the lump vaccinations, we went back more frequently and spread them out over longer period of time. So she wasn't getting 6 at one time. She was getting 3 at a time.
But also, my kids were military kids and their dad went overseas. And if you think that I am letting my kids not be vaccinated when their dad is going overseas and touching people who's been overseas and not be no. No. Yes, my kids were vaccinated.
Vaccines are not the devil. They were not created to control us. They were not created to make super intelligent humans.
Hey, but if they were, so be it. But
you do you. You don't want to vaccinate your kid, that's fine. Just don't bring your unvaccinated kid near anybody who has cancer or heart disease or
any type of issue.
Immune system issue, or because
they could kill them.
They could kill them.
But that's one of my least favorite is that, oh, did you vaccinate your kid? Actually, there was a woman that said that straight to me. And I was like, oh, you're kidding, right? You're blaming me for my kid's autism because I vaccinated them. Okay. Autism has been more and more proven as genetic.
Even if there was some evidence somewhere that wasn't linked to a movie star.
Which there's not any evidence anywhere, by the way.
That vaccines were linked to autism. I'd still rather an autistic child than a dead child.
Yeah, that one really irritates me. Yeah, someone literally said that straight to me once. I was like, dumbfounded. I'm sorry, what? Nope.
You see, I'm the type of person when I hear, like, when Andy told me you should Ehlers-Danlos, I went online and I looked it up to see what it was.
What is that?
No. Do I believe everything I read online? No. I look to make sure I'm reading medical journals.
Yeah.
I look to make sure I'm not just on some, hokey pokey Wikipedia.
Right, Wikipedia is not. Oh, I went to the doctor for this because it was a pretty bad one. The nurse had no idea what Ehlers-Danlos was. And the doctor was like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
I was like,
I've gotten the same thing with celiac.
Yeah, like, huh? Mm-hmm. But, and people don't a lot of people, like, autism, when I was younger, the kids were very severe. The only kids that were diagnosed were they were all nonverbal.
Rain Man style.
Yeah, or completely nonverbal and things like that. Now the spectrum is so broad. Oh, and the people who are like, we're all a little autistic. Everyone has a little bit of autism.
Everybody's a little different, but I wouldn't say everybody has a little bit of autism.
Like, no. I've met a lot of people. And no.
I don't believe you. Would you say that I'm a little autistic?
Mm-mm.
No.
Your husband, on the other hand.
My
husband,
he's
going to see this and be like,
no.
What?
No, my husband is a little obsessive compulsive. I will admit that. And we're working through that. He's come a long way, baby. But the renovations on the house really antagonize his OCD. Him. Yes.
But no, yeah, like, no.
You see that little corner up there that I can't reach to paint?
Because there's stairs right under there, guys.
Because that's making my husband a little crazy. That's making him a little.
And she's like 5 foot nothing. Yeah. And there's stairs under there.
And I'm afraid of heights.
So
my husband's a little OCD, not a little autistic. Now, there may be somebody else in my family that we'll have to wait and see what happens there.
Okay. But
no,
that not everyone is a little autistic. That's not. I mean, everyone has their own quirks, but there's so much more that goes into autism than just a few little quirks.
Being stubborn isn't autism.
No, that's just being stubborn.
Being mean isn't autism.
No, my kids aren't mean
No.
kids.
That's what I'm saying. Some people would say that, well, they don't get along with other people, so they must be on. No, that doesn't mean they're on the spectrum.
My kids try to get along with other people.
Your kids do get along with other people. They just need a break from people once in a while. I don't blame them.
No, and they've gotten much better at verbalizing. I need a break from you. I need to be alone right now.
Yes.
And they even understand that I even do that to them, which probably makes me sound like a horrible mother. I'm like, I need a break right now. Just give me 5 minutes to be a burrito in my blanket, please. Just in my room. Just don't talk to me. 5 minutes. Thank you. And they're just like, okay, Mom. And they'll go play. Yeah. Which is nice. But even my kids will be like, I need a break right now. Don't talk to me. Yeah. And okay, we're fine. Mm-hmm. So we're learning our words and how to verbalize that, because before it would turn into a fist fight between my children. So yeah.
Well, when they're here and you are out, I will just say, okay, here's a book.
Right.
Go sit over there and read. Here's a book. Go. You can be alone over there. Mom will be home.
Beckham, she's a trampoline.
He likes to go sit on the trampoline by himself.
He likes the trampoline by himself. He doesn't like if other people are on the trampoline, because then he can't control it and it freaks him out.
Yes.
But he needs like a trampoline all to himself. And they're like, Mom, can we get one? And I'm like, no, because the fights would be epic.
Right.
No, we cannot get a trampoline.
Sometimes I'll have the girl stay in and play, and I'll say, you can go sit on the trampoline.
Yeah, he just likes to be by himself.
And then when the girls go out, I'll say, Beckham, it's the girl's turn.
He's fine with turns. He's very good with turns, especially if there's like a timer.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're very good with turns.
He does really good with a timer.
Yeah. Because it's rules. It's set. It's fair.
He knows when it's going to change.
Yeah. As long as there's rules and a set, and it's very good. But, oh man, some people just don't understand that just because they have, you may be a little extra work, but it's not necessarily harder than any other kid. Mm-hmm. I don't think.
I still keep my kids busy.
Yeah. Well, and she's like, let me get my kid out of your hair. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Your kid is keeping my kid busy. Like, no, send your kid over.
Yes.
Let's play.
Yeah.
So, like, shh. There's no noise. There's no kids in here. You want to know why? Our girls are in the back playing Barbies. Like,
even though Lorelai's 2 years older, 3 years older.
She's 9, so.
So 3 years older. Lorelai's 3 years older. They still get along great.
And Lorelai can get along with kids older than her or younger than her, which is nice.
She told me she wished Eden was her sister.
Yeah, Beckham's been saying, what if Eden moved in? And I'm like, no. I've had enough of that. No one else is moving in here. We are already.
Well, no, I guarantee you if something happened to Chris, you'd let me come stay.
Well, yeah. If something happened, she could move in, but I don't want to. I'm too tired. I'm too tired.
Now, if something happened to Chris, you'd be my daycare, and I'd be paying you to take care of Eden while I went to work.
Yeah, but then I could give her back at night.
Yes.
I'd be like, here, go.
We'd still live here.
No. Eden's
somehow.
Eden's good.
Eden's good. Your kids are awesome.
But not all kids, like Beckham had a problem with running away for a while, which is common with autism. He would just like go out the front door into the street, which was terrifying.
Yes, that would be scary.
We'd lock the door, and at 2, he figured out how to unlock the door and would just like go. And we deadbolted and locked the door, and he figured it out. We had that thing like over the doorknobs, the childproof thing. He figured that out.
Work for long.
He figured that out. He got out, and I was just like having panic attacks constantly. He finally quit, but that was terrifying for a while. Yeah. But there are things that parents have to deal with that even with mild autism, which is
I don't know.
stupid.
I thought autism was autism. They may be different degrees on the spectrum, but
Yeah, they call it, you're high functioning or low functioning.
but you're high functioning in one area, not necessarily high functioning everywhere.
Right. And I saw a thing on Facebook which I shared that if you have mild autism, that doesn't mean that your autism is mild. That means that everyone else experiences your autism mildly. Like, you don't experience it, but everyone else.
Can we get rid of labels?
Yeah, right. But even
Really?
if they look like every other kid and you think that they're a normal kid or whatever, then that doesn't mean that they don't have their own struggles to deal with. That doesn't mean that they aren't actually working toward, like, it's exhausting sometimes to have to try and be normal. And so I gave up at a certain point. I was like, I don't care anymore. I'm not trying anymore. If you don't like me, you don't like me. I don't care. I did at a certain point, after especially military wives and dealing with so many of them being like, you're just too, what was the word that was used? I don't think it was abrasive, but it was something like that. Because I spoke my mind, I spoke the truth. If they asked my opinion, I gave it. And apparently they didn't like it. And after that sort of thing, I was just like, I don't care anymore. I can't care anymore. If you don't like me, you don't like me. I have friends who actually do like me, and I'm just going to keep those ones. Like, it's like, if you don't like me, you don't like me. You can go away.
Yeah.
So, and those ones are still my friends. And the other ones have gone bye.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Every now and then I'll notice like someone's deleted me on Facebook.
Okay.
And I'm just like, I don't care. I just can't care anymore. I have no more cares. So even as an
Facebook isn't a good measure of friendship.
Well, as a former military wife, some of my friends are only on Facebook. Does that make, because
I have people on Facebook that are only Facebook friends, and it's kind of like Facebook isn't a judge of my real life.
I'm pretty open. Like, I don't just put good things on Facebook.
Well, I don't either. I also don't like, I don't judge my life based on what other people think of my posts.
Well, no, me either. But like, that's how I keep in touch with people.
How they follow me, or
no, but Facebook is how I keep in touch with people.
Yeah, that's how I keep in touch with most of my family.
And for a while, I noticed like every now and then someone would, and I'm just like, okay. But even as an adult with autism, you have to learn eventually that, oh, well, people don't like me. And I have to deal with that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, my kids have to deal with it, but hopefully, since we know now what it is, I can help them
through and maybe experience less bullying.
Yeah, because there was a lot of bullying. But I did notice at the talent show that, like, when I was little, bullying was awful. And there was
still bad.
But there was no bullying at the talent show. None at all. No kid was mean to another kid.
That's good.
Everyone was nice, even when the kids didn't like have a routine really and just got up there and jumped around or whatever. Like, all the kids were nice to the other kids. Like, there was no bullying. So
that's good.
I was quite happy with that. So I'm hoping that maybe that makes it better. We've not had too many issues with bullying.
We haven't. I know a couple kids that have, but their moms have dealt with it in the way they best see fit, and that's not my business to get into.
Yeah, I know some kids with autism who've had bullying issues, and the other thing, especially with autistic kids that are less verbal, is that they don't always tell you right away. Right. And that can be really heartbreaking when suddenly you find out. Like, Lorelai didn't always tell me right away when she was bullied. And it can be heartbreaking when you find out that somebody's messing with your kid and you didn't know.
Yeah.
Like, but I can fix it. Like, all you have to do, you just have to tell me.
But I think that also is something that goes with a lot of, like, across all kids, because when my son
They're
was being
embarrassed,
bullied,
yeah.
he didn't tell us right away. It wasn't until things started to come to a head,
Right, yeah.
and then I was like, look, you can't start anything, but you sure as hell can finish it.
Well, and like at schools now, they're really, at our school they're really good about it, but I know it can be awful with a kid with issues.
Our school's really good about it, but there are some kids who are sneaky about it. There are some sneaky kids out there.
Yeah, and as I said, Beckham doesn't always understand
Right.
when someone's being mean to him.
Right.
And so he'll say something to me and I'll be like, but that wasn't very nice of that kid. And he'll be like, but they're my friend. I'm like, oh,
that makes
like,
me want to cry.
It hurts my feelings, but he doesn't understand that it's like, it's not really hurt his feelings.
Right.
So I'm trying not to, make it into an issue.
But
because
keeping
he
an
doesn't
eye
understand.
on the situation.
Yeah, but I did mention to his teacher.
Yeah.
So this was kind of mentioned to me. Can you just keep an eye on this?
Yeah.
Just in case. Because it's like, oh, but they're still my friend. But sometimes they don't play with me or won't play with me. Won't. Not, they won't. They completely just.
We had something similar to that this year. Unless Eden had a certain electronic device, she couldn't be friends with a certain person.
Yeah.
I was like, then they're not your friends and you don't need them to be.
Yeah. But it's like Beckham's feelings weren't hurt because he didn't really understand that the kid was not being nice.
Right.
It was just he was just talking. And that's all it was. He was like, yeah, he didn't really play with me today, but I went and did this instead. But
it breaks my heart when he tells me that in the car.
And I'm just like, it's so sad, but they don't understand. Mm-hmm. So I'm still working out what to do in those situations. We shall see
when he says it to me in the car after school, I'll be like, did you have fun with what you did? Yeah. Okay, then.
Yeah. If he starts to get his feelings hurt, then it's going to be another issue. But it's things like that breaks your heart as a parent because you understand that other kid's being a jerk, mm-hmm. but your kid doesn't. So you don't make it into an issue. And you always wonder in the back of your head, is it because my kid's different that this kid's being a jerk?
No, sometimes kids.
Or is that kid just a jerk?
Sometimes I know the person you're talking about, and they were a jerk to Eden before.
Okay. But you always wonder, is it because my kid's different that this kid is being like this?
No, it's because they're a jerk.
Okay. Okay. That makes me feel a little better. But Lorelai had this issue in kindergarten.
There are some kids that will treat your child like that because they're different. But this particular kid is just a jerk.
But Lorelai in kindergarten had issues because she was different than all the other kids. And they wouldn't play with her as much because she was different. And this was not at this school. It was a different school. And it was upsetting her, and of course,
that's a different story. That's when it needs to. If it's upsetting him,
right? Yes. And so I was like, "What are we gonna do?" She had one friend, and that was it, because the other kids didn't want to play with her because she was different. And it's heartbreaking because, your kid's different, and why can't parents need to teach their kids that just because someone's different doesn't mean that you don't be polite to them or talk to them? Or
I was the different kid, but I didn't really care.
Well, as I said, I was different and I was bullied and I didn't, and it's heartbreaking.
I was a tomboy.
Well, I mean,
I don't understand my daughter.
She's very frilly. But now Lorelai has friends and it's really nice. So, but she's with older kids, which I think also makes it.
Yeah, that can make it better because her brain.
Because her brain is so, yeah.
But then also some of the things might be a little bit more challenging because
She can be a bit silly.
Socially, she's still in the silly little girl stage.
Well, some of the other kids are too. So she's good.
But
She's good.
When she hits middle school, that might be.
Well, since she's not even like a full year behind most of these kids. Like there are kids that are her age in her, they'll turn 10 this year, but they are 9 right now. So she's like a half a year behind them. So it's not as bad. And I'm not planning on letting her skip again.
No, but just when she hits that middle school, when she does that middle school transition, I might, be a little bit more ears open with.
But her brain is so out there that it's almost like, but she's doing very well. So your dogs,
my dogs.
But
you notice Luke's not barking.
But it's just things like that, and just teach your kids that just because someone is a little bit different doesn't mean that you can't be friends with them.
Different isn't bad. It's just different.
And if a kid seems to be, how do I put this? I'm trying to think. Like if it's difficult to play with a kid, find something that they like. Like certain kids with autism only like certain things. And if your kid isn't interested in those things, that's fine. But
find a common ground.
If your kid is into those things, the Pokemon with Becca, Pokemon, Mario, dinosaur, and then
Minecraft.
There are certain Avengers. Oh, I hear a child. Oh, nope. Okay, we're good. Avengers, Star Wars, some autistic kids just like a few things. And if your kid likes those things too, and you see that kid at a function or something, like there was one kid in Lorelai's class who had on Pokemon pajamas at a pajama day. And I was like, oh man, I love your pajamas. And now that kid like knows who I am because we talked about Pokemon and Star Wars. And so out of like all the other parents, he's like, oh, you're Lorelai's mom. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, I'm Lorelai's mom. Like, high five. Yeah. Love that kid. He doesn't talk to a lot of people. But I like Star Wars, so I'm cool.
Yeah.
Duh. But if you like the things they like, they will talk to you. And give them time to respond. That's another thing with a lot of autistic kids.
They think things through a little bit more before they speak.
Yeah, they may not respond like that. They may need a minute to think about what you said.
And they're processing a lot.
Because they had to look at you, maybe, and then listen.
Or they're trying to filter your voice out from all the surrounding sounds.
From the dog and the...
Yeah.
Yeah. So it may take him a second to respond.
That's something I've noticed with Beckham. I don't expect an answer to any questions like that. I give him a moment.
Yeah.
Think about what he's going to say or whatever it is that he's processing in there. And then he'll respond.
I give him a second. And then if they don't, I repeat myself. Like, did you hear me? Because sometimes they didn't.
No.
Because they're off in La La Land.
Yeah.
I call it Beckham World and Lolo Land.
Well, see, in the car, Lolo is like, she's chatterbox. So sometimes I have to keep my ear on the back to make sure everything in the back is okay.
We usually, Eden and Beckham are usually having their own conversations.
Yes, but sometimes Lorelai will get upset that they're having a conversation because she's trying to say something. I'll be like, they're good. You're okay. I got you. They're okay.
Well, she knows that sometimes I can't hear because I have trouble filtering out all the noises. So if they're talking and I have to turn the radio off,
right,
if everyone's talking. But yeah, if too much is going, I can't filter out all the noises. So she's like, trying to talk. And that's like exactly that's exactly what she does. She gets so mad.
Or she'll go, Becca. It's okay. You don't need to yell at him. I can hear you.
Because she can hear, but I'm like trying to do too many. My ears are listening to all the things. So yeah, that's another thing. We can't always. If somebody over here is talking to us and somebody over here is talking to us, and that's why I don't always do well at parties. Or if sometimes at parties I'm like, or I'll find one person to talk to, or I'll just kind of like quietly mill
Yeah.
and not talk. And sometimes I get overwhelmed that I have to go whoop, and sit down and hide, or I'm just like, I'm gonna eat. I'm just gonna sit there. I'm gonna hide, or I'm like, I need a book because there's too much going on. And we played board games at Christmas, and her kids get very into board games.
Oh, especially my Brendan. Yeah.
Very into it. And there was shouting, and I was just like, you have to stop.
Stop.
You have to stop. You have to stop. You have to stop. I'm sitting there like, it's too loud.
And you didn't even see the worst of it when the three boys were out here playing.
I'm just talking about my house.
Here's the deal. It's not, they don't get like that unless they're playing with each other. And then it's like the competitiveness times 1,000. Like they have to beat each other.
And it wasn't even like anger. It was just
excitement. Intense excitement.
Yeah. And they were just, and everyone was just, and I was just like, stop. Like,
you see why we don't do board game nights?
I like board game nights. And I'm just like,
but not with my boys.
I'm just like, okay, everyone needs to calm down because I can't do this.
We used to do board games all the time, but it got to be too intense when the boys started getting really competitive.
Yeah, I literally had to go, everybody needs to calm down now because nope, because my ears hurt.
Yeah, I think Randy actually left the room a few times.
He's like, you people are crazy.
I don't think he'll come back next Christmas.
Oh, sad. He will. I gave him pie. That's her son's friend from college. She came to Christmas this year. But no, it's things like that where, and Beckham's like, no, if it's too loud, Beckham's just gone. He'll just leave. Whereas I'm sitting there going, okay, I really want to play, but you all have to stop. Can't do this. But if we're making the noise, it's okay.
Brendan gets fixated. Games, he gets very...
And on things he likes, and yes.
Yeah.
He's not diagnosed, though. At all. But probably. I got this. There was another mom who said her kid had a touch of autism. And that's my favorite thing I've ever heard was a touch of autism. I said that the other day and somebody looked at me and I was like, it's okay.
Yeah, but see, back in 98, 99, they didn't diagnose
it wasn't.
Yeah. Unless you were nonverbal, non-communicative.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm 30 now. It wasn't like, I was just a weird kid who liked hanging out with adults better than I liked hanging out with kids.
That's Brendan.
I always liked hanging out with adults more.
Yeah, I think Lorelai's going to like hanging out with adults more. I mean, she likes Eden and she likes Cece. And
I mean, if I had friends who would hang out with me, then I would hang out with my friends. But, and I liked hanging out with adults. I could talk to adults. I was comfortable with adults. Like, and I really liked hanging out with old people and hearing their stories. Like, they were cool. I had an aunt who I loved hearing all of her stories. It was awesome. She was my great aunt. And I would like sit down and hear all of her cool stories.
I told Lorelai that we didn't have cell phones when I was a kid.
Yeah, she was like, when can I have a cell phone? And I'm like, I didn't have a cell phone until high school. So you can have one when you do after school activities that require me to be able to like pick you up. And she's like, what do you mean you didn't have one? And I was like, they didn't
exist when I was in high school. No, wait a minute.
Yes, they did.
Those big giant brick phones, like in Saved by the Bell, those came out when I was in high school.
We had car phones.
When I was in high school. I'm older than you.
I know. Well, we had a car phone. Was our first cell phone. Like it
my grandmother had a bag phone. It was literally like a camera bag.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big giant phone with numbers like a keypad that you dialed on.
But Laura likes talking to adults too. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know why that is, but yeah, we're cool with adults and stuff. And sometimes it's harder to get along with kids when you're like that. I don't know, but
Well,
I don't know why so many people think autism is such a.
The only thing I really think about autism is that you have to be aware of yourself and how you behave to that person. So, like, don't be judgmental to somebody. Well, you shouldn't be judgmental anyway.
I try not to with anybody because you never know.
You shouldn't be judgmental anyway.
And I understand that my kids might not be, I mean, a completely nonverbal child and ones with other issues are going to be
They're going to need different.
A lot more difficult as a parent and things like that. And that is a lot more to deal with as a parent than my kids are to deal with, though they're a lot too. So, but every kid is a lot to deal with, and every kid has their own things that you have to deal with.
Just remember that they're a different person than your child, and consider that when you're talking to them.
And I don't know why so many people are like, why would you vaccinate your kid if it could give them autism?
Because, like, one, it doesn't give them autism, and two, I don't want them to die.
Why is autism so scary? I don't understand why.
Because anything that makes life more challenging or that they don't understand is scary. If you don't understand it, it's scary. Well, guess what? There's this amazing new invention. It's called the internet.
You can learn anything.
You can do research night and day for months and still not know everything there is to know about autism.
Nope. Yeah, when we first got like the pamphlet of like, these are signs that your child may have autism, my husband was reading it and would read one and point at me and read one and point at me and read one. He's like, oh, everything makes sense now. I was like, oh, well. Yeah.
See, I'm just a northern witch. I don't have an excuse or a reason for how I am. I just am.
Yeah, well. But I don't know. I guess being this way makes it not so scary. I don't know.
I never thought of autism as scary.
I
looked at,
but I never saw kids in wheelchairs or kids with feeding tubes or they never were scary. They were never like, oh no, what's wrong? Oh no, right. I can't talk to. Oh, but what? They were just people. But I guess having parents who worked in a medical field and me being in hospitals a lot as a kid because I was always sick made that also a thing. Like, people are people. Don't make a medical thing into a reason not to talk to people. Sometimes I'm in a wheelchair. Sometimes I have a cane. Sometimes, my kids may have a brace on. That doesn't mean you can't talk to us.
Right.
Just because someone may act different doesn't mean they're scary. Or look differently.
I try to teach my kids that, even my adult kids, that people being different is what makes the world an interesting place. If we don't communicate with people who think and act differently than us, we can't grow as people ourselves.
The world would be really dull. So I don't know. Take this month, if you've made it this far into our stream. Take this month, and if you don't know about autism and
go to a legitimate website, not Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Go to a legitimate website that will teach about autism.
I should already know this, but my brain isn't working because yesterday I had a migraine.
There are plenty of resources out there.
Yes.
Heck, you could go on Amazon and you could probably find 50 books about autism written by medical professionals or families that have a member with autism. I like those ones better because you're going to get the real life perspective in those ones.
I mean, if you just Google autism, there's a ton. Don't go to Autism Speaks, though. Autism Society.
Stay away from Wikipedia.
Well, even Wikipedia is not that bad. National Institutes of Health has autism. Mayo Clinic, WebMD.
There's so many resources out there to learn the facts from the rumors.
Yeah, I mean, even
facts are always better than rumor.
And if you know someone who has a family member with autism and it makes you nervous to talk to them, or you think that they're going to be offended if you talk to them about it, they're not. They would much rather you straight up ask them a question than to be distant with them. Just ask. We'll tell you. Not, I mean, don't be stupid. Don't be like talking about
you got
vaccinations
autism from your vaccine.
But don't do that. But if you have a question or want to know how you can better play or be around our autistic child, or what you can do to make them more comfortable, just ask. We'll tell you. It's not that hard.
I honestly worry more about their dairy issues than I do about the autism.
Right?
I'm worried about making them sick. I don't really worry about the autism.
Yeah. Most days, it's not an issue for us. We just go about our lives. Most days, we're just people.
I think every day you're just people.
Yeah. I mean, every now and then it creeps into my head, the autism, especially when the whistling won't stop.
Yeah, that would probably drive me nuts.
It drives me nuts. Or when there's a horrid meltdown over something so tiny, or, something like that. And then sometimes I'm just like, oh, man. But
I may need to borrow the noise canceling headphones if he comes over.
Right? Sometimes I'm like, I need earplugs. I don't know how many times the other day I said, Beckham, would you stop? Just stop. Just please with the whistling. Oh, man. I've banned actual whistles from inside the house. They've always been banned from inside the house. Now he can whistle. So he got away with it. I'm like, stop it. I'm like, could you go back to humming? But just ask us questions. We're more than happy to answer them. We don't care.
I ask all the time.
We're just like, yeah, that's fine. And it's not just any condition, any person, celiac, dairy issues, EDS, anything, just ask.
And just because somebody looks like everybody else doesn't mean they don't have something going on.
You never know. And just because I get out of my car in a handicap spot and I don't have my cane with me doesn't mean I didn't forget it at home.
Or that she won't break her toe as she walks into the building.
But just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there.
Right.
So don't be stupid.
There's fibromyalgia, there's celiac, there's EDS, there's diabetes.
Just go on Instagram and look up hashtag invisible illness and see how many posts there are.
Yeah, not everybody looks sick. Not everybody that is sick looks sick.
And autism isn't even a sickness. It's just your brain, and it's just the way it works. And
no, autism is not a sickness. Autism is just a description of a personality, a series of personality traits that mesh together in a certain way.
That other people have decided are so different from the norm that they have to have a name.
Yeah, again, the labels.
Yeah. So, and I mean, the only reason that it's really good that it has a label is that they can get help in school.
That's the only reason the label helps.
Yeah, because otherwise it's much more difficult, because my kid who whistles constantly would be in big trouble.
It'd be a behavior problem.
Instead of just, that's how his brain works. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in school, after they started making the noises.
That's why we had the big boom of ADHD diagnoses in the past 20 years.
Well, I mean, there is ADHD too.
There's different, but there is different levels of it. And I don't think that as many people necessarily had the behavior issues. I think they just weren't understood for what they truly were.
That's possible. But like when my son started having all of these verbal tics and I read more about autism, I realized, oh, I used to do that too. Every now and then I'll still do it, but not as bad. But in elementary school and even up into high school, I would make noise. Like noise, like with my mouth closed, but I would make noises. And I used to think in kindergarten that nobody else could hear them. They can, but I used to think they couldn't. But yeah, things like that. And I would just like make noise in my head because I need.
It probably
I don't
helps
know.
you focus on whatever it is
Yeah,
you're supposed to focus on.
But my son does the same thing. But I didn't whistle.
I need noise in the house to focus. I
Yeah,
have the
I like
radio
music.
or the TV going, even if I'm not paying attention to it, because I need noise in the house or I can't focus.
Yes. And Beckham likes music, but only certain kinds, and he doesn't particularly like it if other people sing. Even if they're good singers, he doesn't like it. He's like, stop it. He just likes the actual instruments and things.
Mm-hmm.
But
He needs to see Blue Man Group.
mm,
No, he can't see Blue Man Group.
too
The
loud.
mess would make him crazy.
He likes things to be put where they're supposed to go. Yeah.
He would like the music, the music they play in Blue Man Group,
Mhm.
but he wouldn't like the mess.
He likes rock music, which is really weird because he hates loud noises, but he likes rock music.
That's what I'm saying. He'd like the Blue Man Group. It's acoustical, but it's like
Yeah.
got passion.
All right. We're going on an hour and a half talking about autism because it's so big of a thing. There's
we
so
could talk
much.
for the next 30 days about autism.
It's
still
just
not
so
touched it.
much. So just go, and if you have questions, if someone asks, if you don't know what it is, go look.
If you don't know, if you know somebody with autism, go online. Buy a book from Amazon. Go on Instagram. I bet you can find
Ask
people.
them, ask their parents, ask their loved ones, what can I do? How can I help? How can I be a better friend? If you're that like timid around them, just talk to them. It's
They're
not,
still people.
just say hello. And if they say hello back, that's a step, you know? And sometimes we don't look at you. Don't take that as an offense. Just we don't like
It's
looking at you.
uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable. And apparently that's not how most people feel.
I get that because I do look people in the face. It doesn't make me feel uncomfortable. However, I can see that it makes you uncomfortable. So it doesn't offend me when you look.
I thought my whole life that you had to look people in the eye, and it was a thing that you had to be taught because it made everyone uncomfortable. And I just learned as an adult that it doesn't make everyone uncomfortable. But I thought my entire life that it made everyone uncomfortable. And that's why they taught you to do it, because it made everyone uncomfortable, but it was something you had to do. And then I learned, oh, it doesn't. But I thought it did. I thought it made everyone uncomfortable. Apparently it doesn't. My mom was like, no, it doesn't make me uncomfortable. I was like, oh, okay. It does me. She was like, okay. I don't like it. But that's why, as I said, I didn't notice that my kids weren't doing it. My husband said, yeah, Beckham doesn't look at anybody. I was like, he doesn't? He looks at me, I think.
Because you're not looking at him directly.
But he does. He will look at me because I'm his mother. You know, and like,
He'll look at me. He just won't look at me when he talks to me.
yeah. Well, and it's hard.
Like he'll look when he comes out of the building, he'll look directly at me and yell, Erin! And he'll run up and give me a hug. But then when he starts to tell me about his day, he looks down.
Because there's a lot going on.
And I don't, like I said, you do, you do.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the things that they said why Lorelai wasn't on Spectrum, because she could look at you and talk to you. And I'm like, I can look at you and talk to you too. I don't like it, but I can do it. But anyway, we should probably wrap this up because we are going on a I mean,
We're
we're
in a
still in
circle.
autism, but we just keep talking about it because it's just so big. But yeah, just go talk to them. It's learn, educate yourself. Don't be one of those people who says one of those idiotic things that offends people. Like, don't talk about vaccinations. Don't say, oh, they don't look autistic. Don't be one of those people.
I still would love to know what autism is supposed to look like.
Right. And don't apologize. Don't say, oh, your kid has autism. I'm sorry. Don't. I'm not.
How about your kid has autism? Tell me some things about that.
Be sorry my kid can't eat ice cream.
Yeah, that's sad.
Or I can't have cheese. That's much more sad.
Yeah.
I miss pizza. I miss pizza. Be like, I'm sorry. I'd be like, yeah, me too. I'm much more sad about not being able to eat pizza than I am about autism.
I can feel you there.
Right? Pizza, man. Pizza. Real pizza.
Or Italian pastries. Oh, God, I miss
cannolis.
Pastries.
We're both like cannolis. Pizza. Oh, sad. Things neither of us can eat because they have dairy and gluten. We miss real food.
Be sad about the people who can't eat the good foods anymore.
Yeah, don't be sad about autism.
That's sad.
We're not dying. We're fine. Like, our brains work a little different than
Hey,
yours.
look, talking to Beckham at 6 years old, that kid is going to design something someday that is going to save our planet.
The woman who evaluated him was like, so yeah, we're just going to get his social skills worked on so that one day when he's at MIT, he'll have some friends. Because he blew her mind.
Look, this boy, he is going to create, he's either going to be an engineer who creates something that is like so out there, hell, we won't need fossil fuels ever again. This kid is out there.
He wants to be a scientist.
Yeah.
And my daughter wants to be like a medical researcher or something. So,
she's gonna cure cancer, or
that'd be nice.
And he's going to like design,
I don't know. He already
designed the colony that goes to Mars. I don't know.
Isn't that what your kid's working on?
No, that's what my kid's girlfriend's working on.
Oh, yeah. Your kid designs new computer chips and
my
stuff.
kid's going to design
rockets.
The computer chips that make the program run.
Your kid's off making rockets and stuff.
Yeah.
But no, just don't apologize for us for autism. We're not dying. We're fine. Thanks. Though I was gonna say we appreciate the thought. No, we don't really.
Because it's not something to be sorry for.
We're fine. Just be nice. That's all we want.
Your child has autism? Oh, I'd like to hear more about that.
And if you can't deal with our blunt honesty,
go away.
Just leave us alone. Don't be rude. Don't be up in our business. Just leave us alone. We'll be fine without you. Just leave us alone. That's all. So I guess we're good for today. Happy Autism Awareness Month. It's April. It's actually semi-nice outside today.
My dogs are going crazy at the door to come in.
I think it's just the one.
Yeah, it's just Ghost. Because the wind must have blown.
She's terrified of everything.
My dog is more something to be sorry for than autism.
Oh, goodness. Oh, jeez. All right. I'm gonna go home because my kid is sick. Like, actually has a cold. So, we will see y'all later. And check out PS Crafty Life on Facebook because we've got some new stuff up. And I need to take pictures of other new stuff.
And I gotta finish some stuff.
Yep. And we have to get her a new wood burner because hers broke. But
sorry, dear.
Boop. But check us out there and on Instagram
and Facebook and
Facebook
Etsy.
and Instagram. We have like nothing on our Etsy. I don't think
we don't have anything in our Etsy yet.
No.
Okay.
But it's on Facebook and on Instagram, and Here on YouTube, we have more videos. Not a whole big bunch, but some.
And we'll get better now that the weather is getting nicer. We can do some stuff outside.
We've had a lot of illness lately. Yeah. It's been like sick and sick and sick and sick
hurt,
and sick.
Sick, hurt.
So, but we'll see y'all later and stay crafty.